Have you ever felt that certain patterns in life seem to repeat? That moments of success, challenge, or transformation follow an unseen rhythm? What if I told you that the last digit of your birth year holds a hidden energy that shapes your destiny, personality, and life path? According to Buddhist philosophy, numbers are more than just symbols. They are vibrational forces that connect us to the universe's deeper mysteries. For centuries, monks and spiritual seekers have studied numbers as cosmic keys that unlock insights about our purpose, strengths, and the lessons we are meant to learn in this lifetime. Think about it. Why do some people naturally rise as leaders while others thrive in harmony and support? Why are some restless adventurers while others seek inner wisdom? Your birth number is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of your soul's energy, influencing the way you think, feel, and experience life. This is not speculation. Across cultures, from Eastern numerology to Buddhist teachings, the power of numbers has been recognized as a guiding force in shaping human experience. Everything in the universe vibrates at a specific frequency, and your birth number is no exception. It acts as an energetic fingerprint, revealing your natural tendencies and spiritual journey. Today, we will uncover the hidden meaning behind the last digit of your birth year, exploring how it influences your strengths, challenges, and path to fulfillment. But this is not just about knowledge, it's about unlocking your true potential. Like this video if you want to attract positive energy and align yourself with the universe's wisdom. Each like sets an intention for clarity and self-discovery. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful insight into your spiritual journey. This knowledge can help you navigate life with deeper awareness. Comment below with your birth number and the mantra, "I attract prosperity and wisdom." This not only helps you connect with this energy, but also strengthens your manifestation power. Now, let's dive into the spiritual energy of numbers and reveal what your birth number says about you. 0. Emptiness and transformation. 0 is often misunderstood because it appears to represent nothingness, but in Buddhist philosophy, nothingness is not emptiness in a negative sense, it is infinite potential. It is the vast openness from which everything arises and to which everything returns. If your birth year ends in 0, this symbolism deeply influences your life. You may find yourself constantly evolving, experiencing phases of growth, destruction, and renewal, much like the natural cycles of the universe. However, this profound connection to transformation can also become a source of struggle. Many people with this number feel as though they are trapped in loops, repeating the same patterns over and over again without truly moving forward. They may experience situations where, just as they feel they have reached stability, life shifts again, forcing them to start anew. This can be frustrating, leaving them questioning why they can never seem to hold onto a steady path. The key lesson here is patience and trust. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that impermanence is the nature of all things, everything is in a constant state of flux. Those who resist change suffer, while those who embrace it find peace. If you were born under 0, your greatest strength is your ability to reinvent yourself. You are not bound by rigid definitions of identity or destiny, rather, you are free to flow with the currents of life, adapting and transforming as needed. However, if you do not develop mindfulness, this ability can feel more like chaos than freedom. Learning to recognize the cycles in your life, rather than being overwhelmed by them, allows you to harness their power instead of being controlled by them. Imagine a river flowing endlessly toward the ocean. It does not resist its course, nor does it attempt to hold onto the rocks along the way. It simply flows. This is the mindset that people born under 0 must cultivate. Instead of clinging to what was or fearing what is to come, they must learn to exist fully in the present, knowing that everything has its time and place. Many people born under this number develop an intuitive sense of timing, knowing when to release and when to act. However, If they resist the natural flow of their lives, they may feel lost, as if they are stuck in an endless loop without direction. The Zen parable of the overflowing cup perfectly illustrates this concept. A young seeker approached a Zen master, eager to learn the secrets of enlightenment. The master invited him to tea and began pouring. He continued pouring even as the tea spilled over the edges of the cup. Shocked, the student exclaimed, "Why do you keep pouring? The cup is already full." The master smiled and replied, "Like this cup, your mind is already full. You must first empty yourself before you can receive new wisdom." This is the fundamental truth for those born under zero. They must learn to let go of old perspectives, past attachments, and preconceived notions of who they are or what their life should be. Only by emptying themselves can they receive the new possibilities waiting to unfold. One real-life example of this lesson is found in people who constantly find themselves in situations that demand reinvention. Think of someone who repeatedly experiences career changes, not because they fail, but because each phase of their life brings new realizations about what they truly want. Or consider relationships that seem to come full circle, ending only to be reborn in a new form, whether with the same person or someone else who brings an eerily familiar lesson. These are not random events, they are the universe's way of urging transformation. For those who struggle with the idea of change, Buddhist teachings offer guidance. The concept of anatta, or non-self, reminds us that we are not fixed entities. We are not the same people we were 5 years ago, nor will we be the same 5 years from now. If we try to define ourselves rigidly, we suffer. Those born under zero must embrace this reality wholeheartedly. They must learn to move through life with a sense of openness, always ready to evolve. Rather than viewing past failures as mistakes, they should see them as necessary steps in their personal transformation. A powerful meditation technique for those with this number is contemplating impermanence. This involves sitting in stillness and observing how everything around them is in motion. The breath, the thoughts, the sounds, even the body itself is aging and changing in every moment. By recognizing this, they can begin to let go of the need for absolute control and instead embrace the fluidity of life. This practice brings a deep sense of peace, helping them navigate transitions with grace rather than fear. In daily life, people with this number can apply their lesson of transformation by consciously practicing non-attachment. This does not mean they should detach emotionally from everything, but rather that they should engage fully without the fear of loss. For example, if they love someone, they should love deeply but without trying to hold on to them as if they could prevent change. If they pursue a dream, they should give their all but understand that dreams evolve, and what serves them today may not serve them tomorrow. This way of living allows them to experience life with fullness and gratitude instead of anxiety over the future. The greatest strength of those born under zero is their adaptability. They can start over more times than most people can imagine, each time emerging stronger and wiser. They do not fear the unknown because they understand that the unknown is simply another phase of the cycle. However, their greatest challenge is learning to trust this process rather than resisting it. They must remind themselves that just as the seasons change and the moon waxes and wanes, their lives are unfolding exactly as they are meant to. By embracing the lesson of patience, surrender, and transformation, people with this number can live with a deep sense of inner peace. They do not need to struggle against the tides of life, they only need to learn how to ride them skillfully. In doing so, they become not just survivors of change but masters of it, living examples of the wisdom that nothing is ever truly lost, everything is simply becoming something new. 1. Individuality and leadership. The number 1 is a symbol of power, self-reliance, and determination. People born in years ending in 1 are natural leaders, often paving their own way rather than following the paths laid before them. They embody the energy of independence, always seeking new challenges and refusing to be confined by societal norms or expectations. These individuals have a strong inner fire that propels them forward, making them pioneers in their respective fields. Whether in business, art, science, or philosophy, they are the ones who dare to ask, what if, and why not, instead of merely accepting the status quo. However, this intense drive for independence can also become a source of isolation. The desire to lead can sometimes make them reluctant to seek help, leaving them burdened with the weight of their ambitions. The struggle of those born under one is not about lack of vision but rather about learning to navigate leadership in a way that does not alienate others. They may find themselves pushing forward with such force that they overlook the importance of connection. True leadership, as Buddhist philosophy teaches, is not about standing alone at the top, it is about elevating others alongside you. The strongest leaders do not merely forge paths, they inspire others to walk with them. This is why collaboration is an essential lesson for individuals with this number. Many of them resist the idea of relying on others, believing that doing so would compromise their independence. But in truth, strength does not lie in isolation, it lies in the ability to build meaningful relationships that reinforce one's vision. Consider the story of the lone warrior who approached the Buddha in search of wisdom. He asked, "How can I be the strongest?" expecting an answer about training harder, fighting better, or conquering more opponents. But the Buddha simply replied, "The strongest tree is not the tallest, but the one with the deepest roots." The warrior was confused at first, but with time, he came to understand the lesson. True strength does not come from standing alone, it comes from being deeply connected to something greater. A tree with deep roots can withstand storms, while one that grows tall without a solid foundation will topple when the wind rises. In the same way, leaders who fail to cultivate relationships and seek wisdom from others may find themselves overwhelmed by challenges they could have overcome with the right support. One real-life example of this lesson can be seen in entrepreneurs who attempt to build businesses entirely on their own. They often start with immense passion, believing that they must do everything themselves to ensure success. However, as they grow, they begin to realize that no great empire is built by a single person. The most successful leaders are those who know how to delegate, empower others, and create a shared vision. Steve Jobs, for instance, was known for his visionary leadership, but he did not build Apple alone. He surrounded himself with brilliant minds who helped bring his ideas to life. This is the kind of wisdom that those born under one must embrace, the understanding that their strength is amplified, not diminished, when they learn to trust and collaborate with others. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of interdependence, the idea that nothing in this universe exists in isolation. The concept of pratyasamutpita, or dependent origination, teaches that all things arise in connection with others. Just as a tree needs the soil, the sun, and the rain to grow, a leader needs support, guidance, and community. Those who believe they can achieve greatness entirely on their own will eventually realize that even the most powerful figures in history had mentors, allies, and partners who contributed to their success. For people with a number one, another major challenge is learning the difference between confidence and arrogance. Because they are often highly capable, they may develop a mindset that dismisses the opinions or contributions of others. This can lead to an inflated sense of superiority, making it difficult for them to recognize when they need help. Buddhist philosophy warns against this type of ego-driven thinking, as it creates suffering not only for the individual but also for those around them. The practice of humility is essential for these individuals. True confidence does not come from believing one is better than others, but from understanding one's strengths and using them in service of a greater purpose. A useful exercise for those born under one is mindful leadership meditation. This practice involves sitting in stillness and reflecting on the qualities of a great leader. Instead of focusing solely on personal ambitions, they should ask themselves, how can I uplift others? How can I lead with wisdom and compassion? By integrating these questions into their daily practice, they can shift their perspective from self-centered leadership to leadership that fosters collective growth. Another practical step is to actively seek mentorship. Many people with this number resist guidance because they believe they must carve their own path. However, even the greatest teachers once had teachers. The Dalai Lama, despite being one of the most revered spiritual leaders in the world, continuously seeks wisdom from others. This is a reminder that true knowledge is not static, it is an ever-evolving journey of learning from those who came before us. In daily interactions, those with this number should practice active listening. Instead of always taking charge, they should make a conscious effort to hear others' perspectives. This does not mean they should abandon their leadership role, but rather that they should create space for collaboration. Many people mistake leadership for dominance, but true leaders inspire rather than control. They guide rather than dictate. The ability to balance independence with connection is what ultimately defines success for people under this number. When they learn to integrate their pioneering spirit with the wisdom of collaboration, they become unstoppable forces of change. Their natural strength is no longer limited by personal effort alone but is multiplied through the collective power of those they lead. The best leaders in history are not remembered simply for their achievements, but for how they transformed the world around them. This is the path that those born under one must walk, not just to lead, but to lead with purpose. By embracing the lesson of true leadership, those with this number can turn their natural independence into a force that empowers others. They will no longer feel isolated in their pursuits but will find fulfillment in knowing that their strength is not diminished by connection, it is enhanced by it. In the end, the greatest legacy they can leave is not just in what they accomplish, but in the lives they inspire along the way. 2. Duality and harmony. The number 2 embodies the essence of duality, harmony, and relationships, serving as a bridge between opposing forces. Those born under this number often feel an innate calling to create peace, foster understanding, and bring unity where division exists. They are natural diplomats, able to see multiple perspectives and mediate conflicts with empathy. However, this same ability can also become a personal challenge. Their deep desire for balance can lead to self-suppression, where they prioritize maintaining external harmony over expressing their own truth. They may hesitate to assert themselves out of fear that doing so will disrupt the very balance they work so hard to preserve. The struggle of those born under 2 is not in their ability to perceive the world clearly but in their reluctance to claim space within it. In their attempt to maintain peace, they may sacrifice their own needs, allowing others' voices to overpower their own. This often leads to frustration, inner conflict, and a sense of being unseen. However, Buddhist philosophy teaches that true balance is not about suppressing one side in favor of the other but about embracing both light and shadow. Those with this number must learn that conflict is not inherently destructive, it is a necessary part of growth. Instead of avoiding it, they must cultivate the strength to engage with discomfort without losing their inner stability. The story of the 2 paths captures this lesson well. A student once asked his teacher, "Is it better to be silent or to speak?" Expecting a straightforward answer, he was surprised when the teacher responded with an analogy: a river flows because it balances between its 2 banks. This wisdom highlights the truth that neither extreme, silence nor constant speech, leads to true wisdom. Just as a river needs both banks to guide its flow, balance comes from knowing when to speak and when to remain still. The key is not in avoiding one or the other but in learning to move fluidly between them. For those born under 2, the greatest lesson is self-expression within harmony. Many struggle with setting boundaries because they equate confrontation with disharmony. They may allow others to dictate their choices or remain passive in relationships, believing that doing so preserves peace. However, Buddhism teaches that inner harmony must come before outer harmony. If maintaining balance with others requires betraying yourself, it is not true balance. Those with this number must learn that their voice matters just as much as the voices they work to uplift. One real-life example of this dynamic can be seen in people who always play the role of the mediator in their families or social circles. They may find themselves constantly soothing tensions, compromising their needs, or absorbing others' emotions. While this may make them invaluable to others, over time, it can lead to emotional exhaustion. If they never express their own frustrations or desires, they may reach a breaking point where their internal equilibrium collapses. Buddhist teachings encourage mindful self-awareness, reminding us that our own well-being is just as important as the well-being of those around us. The principle of yin and yang reflects this balance perfectly. In Eastern philosophy, yin represents softness, receptivity, and peace, while yang represents assertion, energy, and action. Many people born under two embody yin energy, always seeking to accommodate and harmonize. But if they lean too far into passivity, they risk becoming invisible in their own lives. The goal is not to reject their natural peacekeeping abilities but to strengthen their yang energy, learning to be firm, decisive, and self-affirming when necessary. One way those under two can practice this balance is through conscious communication. Instead of defaulting to agreement for the sake of avoiding conflict, they should develop the habit of stating their true feelings clearly and kindly. This does not mean being confrontational, it means honoring their own truth while still being considerate of others. A practical approach is the I feel method. Instead of suppressing emotions or reacting defensively, they can say, I feel unheard when my opinion is dismissed, or I feel overwhelmed when I have to mediate every argument. This method allows them to assert their needs without creating unnecessary opposition. Another essential skill is boundary setting. Many people with this number struggle with saying no, fearing that doing so will make them seem unkind or uncooperative. However, Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of right action, making choices that align with both compassion for others and respect for oneself. Saying no is not an act of aggression, it is an act of self-respect. Those with this number must remind themselves that healthy relationships do not require self-sacrifice. True harmony comes from mutual understanding, not from one person endlessly conceding. Buddhism also teaches that attachment to external approval is a cause of suffering. Many people born under two derive their sense of worth from how well they maintain harmony in their relationships. However, when they depend on external peace to feel internally whole, they give away their power. The Buddhist principle of equanimity, remaining stable and at peace regardless of external circumstances, is a valuable practice for them. By cultivating inner balance, they learn that they do not need to control everything around them to feel at ease. They can allow life to flow naturally without feeling responsible for every ripple. A daily mindfulness practice for those under two is mirror meditation. This involves sitting quietly and gazing into a mirror, observing their own face without judgment. As they breathe, they can reflect on a simple mantra, "My presence matters." This practice helps them reconnect with their sense of self, reminding them that their existence is just as significant as those they work so hard to support. In relationships, those born under two should actively seek partnerships that encourage both emotional safety and self-expression. They thrive in environments where they feel heard and valued, not just for their ability to keep the peace but for who they truly are. They should also be mindful of relationships where they are expected to be the constant peacemaker, as these can become emotionally draining over time. Another powerful lesson for them is embracing imperfection. Many people under this number fear disharmony so deeply that they overextend themselves trying to make everything perfect. They may spend unnecessary energy fixing others' problems, smoothing over every disagreement, or striving for an ideal state of peace that may not even be realistic. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that imperfection is natural. Just as a river's flow is shaped by the obstacles it encounters, harmony is shaped by the challenges we navigate. Instead of fearing discord, those under two should welcome it as an opportunity for deeper understanding and growth. The ultimate wisdom for those born under two is learning to balance their nature as peacekeepers with their own right to be seen, heard, and valued. They must recognize that they can advocate for harmony without erasing themselves in the process. Their gift to the world is their ability to unite, but their lesson is that true unity includes their own voice, their own needs, and their own presence. The most powerful harmony is one that integrates both giving and receiving, both listening and speaking, both accepting and asserting. When those under two master this balance, they become not just mediators of peace but also embodiments of true wholeness. 3. Creativity and expression. The number 3 carries the energy of creativity, self-expression, and boundless imagination. Those born under this number often feel an innate pull toward artistic or intellectual pursuits, constantly inspired by the world around them. Their minds are rich with ideas, their spirits driven by a desire to bring beauty, meaning, and originality into existence. Whether through painting, writing, music, design, or other forms of creative expression, they have a gift for seeing possibilities where others see limitations. However, their greatest challenge is not generating ideas, it is bringing those ideas to completion. The energy of 3 is dynamic and ever moving, but without structure, it can become scattered. Many who resonate with this number struggle with unfinished projects, abandoned passions, and a tendency to lose interest before their vision materializes. The core lesson for those born under 3 is discipline. While inspiration comes naturally, turning that inspiration into something tangible requires commitment. Without focus, creativity can become a series of half-formed ideas rather than a body of meaningful work. Buddhist philosophy teaches that true mastery comes not from fleeting bursts of enthusiasm but from sustained, mindful effort. The difference between an artist and a visionary is not just talent, it is the ability to follow through, refine, and complete what was started. The story of the unfinished painting reflects this struggle perfectly. A talented painter spent years starting new pieces, each one bursting with potential, yet none were ever finished. Every time inspiration struck, he abandoned his previous work, always chasing a new vision. Frustrated by his lack of progress, he sought guidance from a wise monk, who handed him a brush and said, "A brush that never completes a stroke creates only chaos." The painter finally realized that his lack of discipline was not only preventing him from finishing his work but also robbing him of true creative fulfillment. For people with this number, this is a critical realization. Creativity is not just about beginnings, it is about seeing something through to the end. Many people mistake discipline for restriction, believing that it stifles artistic freedom. However, Buddhist teachings emphasize structure as a necessary foundation for true expression. Just as a musician must practice scales before composing symphonies, an artist must refine their technique before their vision can fully take shape. Those under 3 must learn to embrace structure as a tool that enhances creativity rather than limiting it. One real-life example of this challenge is seen in writers who start novels but never finish them. They may feel inspired by news stories constantly, but without the patience to develop and complete one idea, they end up with fragments rather than a masterpiece. The same applies to musicians who compose unfinished songs, entrepreneurs who launch projects but never see them through, or thinkers who generate ideas without executing them. The lesson here is clear: creativity without discipline leads to unfulfilled potential. Buddhist philosophy offers guidance through the concept of mindful effort. The Eightfold Path teaches that progress requires right effort, meaning that energy must be directed with intention rather than scattered. For those born under 3, this means committing to one pursuit at a time and seeing it through before moving on. A helpful practice is setting clear creative goals, such as completing a painting within a specific time frame or finishing a piece of writing before starting another. By doing this, they learn to channel their inspiration into something meaningful rather than letting it dissipate in endless possibilities. Another struggle for those under 3 is perfectionism, which can paradoxically lead to unfinished work. Many creative individuals fear that their final product will not live up to their vision, so they avoid completion altogether. They may endlessly revise, hesitate to share their work, or start over repeatedly, hoping to achieve something perfect. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that perfection is an illusion. Everything is in a constant state of evolution. Instead of fearing imperfection, those under 3 must learn to embrace progress over perfection, understanding that each completed work is a stepping stone toward greater mastery. A practical tool for overcoming this is the one-stroke exercise. In Zen calligraphy, artists are taught to complete a brush stroke in one motion, without hesitation or correction. This practice reinforces the idea that commitment to the present moment is more valuable than striving for flawlessness. Those with this number can apply the same principle to their creative work, completing a project without endlessly second-guessing or reworking it. For those who struggle with maintaining focus, meditation can be a powerful tool. A recommended practice is single-pointed concentration meditation, samadhi meditation, where one focuses on a single object, such as the breath or a candle flame, training the mind to stay with one thing rather than constantly shifting attention. Over time, this cultivates the ability to follow through with tasks in daily life. In addition to discipline, another crucial lesson for those under 3 is expressing their authentic voice. Many highly creative individuals feel pressure to conform, fearing that their ideas are too unconventional or that their self-expression will not be accepted. They may modify their work to fit expectations, diluting its originality. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes non-attachment to external validation, teaching that true fulfillment comes not from approval but from creating with sincerity. Those under 3 must remind themselves that their gift is not just creativity, it is their unique perspective, and the world benefits most when they share it fully and fearlessly. A key mindset shift is moving from outcome-based creativity to process-based creativity. Many people with this number tie their creative worth to external success, whether their work is praised, sells well, or gains recognition. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that joy is found in the process itself. Creativity should not be merely a means to an end but an act of presence. When those under 3 learn to create for the sake of creating, rather than for validation, they tap into their truest artistic potential. A helpful exercise is daily creative rituals, such as sketching for 10 minutes every morning, journaling thoughts freely, or composing music without judgment. These practices remove the pressure of perfection and reinforce the idea that expression is valuable in itself. Over time, this builds confidence and consistency, reducing the tendency to abandon projects out of self-doubt. Another challenge for people under this number is restlessness. Because they are filled with inspiration, they often jump from one passion to another, struggling to commit to a single path. While variety is valuable, constantly switching directions can lead to lack of mastery. Buddhist philosophy teaches the importance of deep work, meaning that true fulfillment comes not from endless novelty but from dedicating oneself to meaningful, long-term pursuits. Those under 3 must balance exploration with dedication, allowing themselves to experiment while also committing deeply to the crafts and passions that resonate most. One final lesson for those born under 3 is embracing simplicity. Many creative individuals overcomplicate their work, believing that greatness must be complex. However, the most powerful expressions are often the simplest. In Zen philosophy, there is a saying, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." This applies not just to art but to life. Those with this number can benefit from simplifying their creative process, focusing on clarity, depth, and genuine expression rather than excessive elaboration. When those under 3 integrate discipline with their natural creativity, they become truly unstoppable. They move beyond being merely inspired to being creators of tangible, lasting work. They no longer fear incompletion, perfectionism, or external judgment, because they understand that true artistry lies in finishing what is started and sharing it with the world. By mastering both freedom and structure, they transform raw inspiration into something real, something that not only brings them fulfillment but also leaves a lasting impact on those who experience it. 4. Structure and order. The number 4 is deeply connected to structure, discipline, and stability, acting as a foundation upon which great things can be built. Those born under this number possess a natural inclination toward order, methodical thinking, and a practical approach to life. They thrive on predictability, clear plans, and established routines, making them reliable and dependable individuals. Unlike those who chase spontaneity or uncertainty, people with this number find comfort in structure. They believe that success is not born from chaos but from consistent effort and well-organized systems. Their greatest strength lies in their ability to build solid foundations, whether in careers, relationships, or personal growth. However, the same qualities that make them strong can also become obstacles. Their resistance to change can limit their ability to adapt when life demands flexibility. In their pursuit of stability, they may develop rigid expectations, struggling to adjust when things do not go according to plan. This can lead to frustration, anxiety, and an inability to embrace new opportunities. Buddhist philosophy teaches that true stability is not about controlling life but about learning how to flow with it. Those under 4 must understand that while structure provides security, it is adaptability that ensures survival. The story of the bamboo and the oak illustrates this wisdom. During a storm, a mighty oak stood tall, unwavering against the fierce winds. It refused to bend, believing its strength came from its solidity. Yet when the storm intensified, the oak snapped, unable to withstand the force. Meanwhile, the bamboo, though thinner and seemingly weaker, bent with the wind, swaying with the storm rather than fighting against it. When the storm passed, the bamboo remained standing, while the once mighty oak lay broken. This story teaches an essential lesson: rigidity leads to destruction, while flexibility allows endurance. People under 4 must recognize that their strength does not come from resisting change but from knowing when to adapt. Many individuals with this number find themselves drawn to careers and lifestyles that emphasize structure, organization, and discipline. They make excellent planners, engineers, financial experts, and educators because they understand how to build systems that bring stability. However, when faced with situations that require spontaneity or quick adjustments, they may feel uncomfortable. Their reliance on predictable structures can make them resistant to new ideas or unconventional methods. This is where mindful flexibility becomes crucial. Buddhist teachings encourage openness to change, emphasizing that nothing in life is truly permanent. Those born under 4 must practice this mindset, learning to see adaptability not as a loss of control but as an expansion of wisdom. One real-life example of this lesson is seen in leaders who fail to evolve with time. Throughout history, businesses and empires have collapsed because their leaders clung too tightly to outdated systems. They resisted innovation, believing that the old ways were the only ways. However, those who succeeded, whether in business, art, or philosophy, were the ones who understood that true stability comes from knowing when to change. A company that refuses to adapt to new technology will eventually become irrelevant, just as a person who refuses to embrace personal growth will remain stuck. The Buddhist principle of impermanence, anicca, reminds us that all things change, and resisting that change only leads to suffering. Those under 4 should reflect on this deeply, considering how their pursuit of stability might actually be limiting them. Many who resonate with this number struggle with letting go, whether it is an old job, a long-held belief, or a way of doing things that once worked but no longer serves them. They may hold on out of fear rather than trust in their ability to rebuild and adjust. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that clinging to stability can sometimes be the very thing that prevents true security. If we refuse to let go of a broken foundation, we may never create something stronger. A helpful practice for people under 4 is structured flexibility, meaning they maintain a sense of order while also allowing room for adaptation. For example, instead of setting rigid, unchangeable goals, they can create frameworks that allow for evolution. Rather than insisting on a singular way of achieving success, they can explore multiple pathways to reach their objectives. This balance between discipline and openness helps them maintain their strengths without becoming stagnant. Another challenge for those with this number is their tendency to over-plan. Many people born under 4 feel uneasy without a detailed roadmap for the future. While planning is beneficial, excessive control can lead to disappointment when things do not unfold as expected. A Buddhist approach to planning involves setting intentions rather than rigid expectations. Instead of becoming attached to a single outcome, those under 4 should focus on doing their best in the present moment while remaining open to shifts in direction. This practice reduces stress and allows life to unfold with greater ease. For those who struggle with accepting uncertainty, meditation on impermanence can be transformative. This involves sitting quietly and contemplating how everything in life, relationships, careers, even emotions, is in constant motion. By recognizing that change is natural, people under 4 can begin to trust that even when the future is uncertain, they have the resilience to navigate it with wisdom. A practical way to apply this lesson is through controlled adaptability exercises. This could mean intentionally stepping outside of their comfort zone, changing their daily routine, trying a new approach to problem solving, or allowing others to take the lead in situations they would normally control. By gradually exposing themselves to healthy unpredictability, they develop the mental flexibility needed to embrace change when it inevitably arrives. Those with this number must also recognize the difference between discipline and rigidity. Discipline is about commitment, patience, and perseverance, but rigidity is about resistance, fear, and inflexibility. Many people under 4 mistake one for the other, believing that changing their approach is equivalent to abandoning their values. However, Buddhist philosophy teaches that true wisdom comes from knowing when to hold firm and when to let go. A person can maintain their core beliefs while also allowing new experiences to shape their understanding. In relationships, people born under 4 may struggle when their partners or loved ones do not follow the same structured mindset. They may expect others to operate with the same level of organization, leading to frustration when things do not align perfectly. This can cause unnecessary tension if they fail to recognize that not everyone functions in the same way. Buddhist wisdom encourages acceptance of diversity, reminding us that harmony comes not from forcing uniformity but from embracing differences with patience and understanding. For those under 4, another essential lesson is trusting the unknown. Many who resonate with this number feel a strong need for certainty, fearing the idea of taking risks. However, Buddhism teaches that uncertainty is not something to be feared, it is something to be explored. If people under 4 can shift their perspective from seeking control to seeking understanding, they will find that stability is not about eliminating unpredictability but about strengthening one's ability to adapt. A useful affirmation for those struggling with flexibility is, "I trust the flow of life. I am grounded, yet open to change. Stability is within me, not outside of me." Repeating this affirmation during meditation or reflection can help rewire the mind to see adaptability as a strength rather than a threat. Ultimately, the greatest wisdom for those born under 4 is recognizing that their ability to create structure is a gift, but only when it is paired with openness to transformation. By embracing the lesson of the bamboo rather than the oak, they learn that their true power lies not in resisting life's changes but in mastering the art of adapting to them. Stability does not mean standing still, it means having a foundation strong enough to support growth, movement, and continuous evolution. When those under 4 integrate this wisdom, they no longer fear change but welcome it as a necessary part of becoming even stronger. 5. Freedom and adventure. The number 5 embodies freedom, movement, and boundless curiosity, making those born under it natural explorers. They are driven by a deep desire to experience everything life has to offer, constantly seeking new landscapes, ideas, and perspectives. These individuals are the ones who thrive in change, feeling most alive when they are discovering, experimenting, and pushing beyond familiar boundaries. Whether through travel, intellectual pursuits, or unconventional life paths, they reject monotony in favor of excitement. Their energy is dynamic, their minds open, and their spirits restless. However, the greatest challenge for those under 5 is commitment. In their endless search for new experiences, they may struggle to stay grounded long enough to build something lasting. The core lesson for those under 5 is understanding that true freedom does not come from avoiding responsibility, but from embracing it without feeling trapped. Many individuals with this number equate stability with restriction, fearing that committing to one path means sacrificing the ability to explore others. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that freedom is not about running away from limitations but about finding peace within them. A person who is constantly chasing something new may not actually be free, they may be imprisoned by their own inability to stay still. The story of the wandering monk captures this struggle. A monk, eager to gain wisdom, traveled from temple to temple, seeking teachings from different masters. He believed that by constantly moving, he would collect more knowledge. However, he never stayed long enough to truly absorb what was being taught. One day, he met a wise elder who told him, "Wisdom is not found in distance, but in depth." It was then that the monk realized his mistake. He had been searching everywhere but had never stopped long enough to look within. This is the fundamental challenge for those born under 5. Their curiosity is a gift, but without direction, it can lead to aimlessness. Many of them struggle to follow through on projects, relationships, or personal growth, abandoning things as soon as the initial excitement fades. They may excel at starting but falter when it comes to finishing. This is because commitment feels like confinement to them, when in reality, it is the foundation that allows deeper exploration. A real life example of this challenge can be seen in people who constantly switch careers, relationships, or passions, always seeking something better but never staying long enough to truly master anything. While this provides them with a wide range of experiences, it can also leave them feeling unfulfilled. The Buddhist principle of presence and mindfulness offers the remedy to this. Instead of seeking happiness elsewhere, those under 5 must learn to fully immerse themselves in what is in front of them. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes that freedom is a state of mind, not a physical condition. A person who is always traveling but never feels content is not truly free, they are running. Meanwhile, someone who finds joy in the present moment, no matter where they are, experiences true liberation. This is why mindfulness practices are essential for those under 5. By training themselves to stay present, they reduce their need for constant external stimulation and begin to appreciate the richness of stillness. Another struggle for those born under 5 is impulsivity. Their love for excitement can lead them to make quick decisions without considering long-term consequences. This can manifest in financial instability, fleeting relationships, or frequent lifestyle changes that prevent them from establishing deeper roots. While spontaneity is a strength, it must be balanced with wisdom. Buddhist teachings encourage mindful decision-making, reminding us that every action has a ripple effect. Those under 5 should practice pausing before acting, asking themselves, am I running towards something meaningful, or am I just running? A helpful technique for individuals with this number is the 1-year challenge, committing to one goal, project, or practice for an entire year before allowing themselves to move on. This forces them to engage deeply rather than superficially, helping them discover that mastery can be just as thrilling as novelty. Whether it's learning an instrument, writing a book, or deepening a relationship, they may find that staying engaged with something long-term is far more rewarding than endlessly seeking something new. Another area where those under 5 struggle is relationships. Because they value independence, they may resist commitments, fearing that settling down will limit their freedom. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that true connection does not restrict, it expands. A strong relationship should be a place where both individuals support each other's growth rather than holding each other back. Those under 5 must shift their mindset from viewing commitment as a cage to seeing it as a source of stability that enhances exploration. One way to apply this is through intentional partnerships, choosing relationships where both freedom and depth are valued. This means seeking people who understand their need for space while also challenging them to grow in ways they might not on their own. Instead of avoiding commitments, they should commit to people and experiences that align with their true nature. Buddhism also teaches the importance of impermanence, which can help those under 5 embrace stability without fear. Many people with this number resist settling down because they believe it means locking themselves into something forever. However, when they understand that nothing in life is permanent, not even commitments, they realize that stability does not have to mean stagnation. A person can choose a path today and evolve along the way without losing their sense of adventure. A useful meditation for those under 5 is grounding meditation, where they visualize themselves as a tree, with roots deep in the earth but branches free to sway with the wind. This helps reinforce the idea that stability and freedom are not opposites, they are complementary forces. By practicing this, they learn that having a foundation does not mean losing movement, it means moving with purpose. Another way those under 5 can balance their energy is through structured spontaneity. This involves creating routines that allow for freedom within a framework. For example, instead of aimlessly traveling without direction, they can set an intention for their journey, learning a new language, studying a culture in depth, or documenting their experiences in a meaningful way. Instead of avoiding schedules altogether, they can set flexible structures that provide just enough direction without feeling restrictive. In careers, those with this number should seek professions that allow both stability and variety. They thrive in roles that offer flexibility, such as freelancing, entrepreneurship, or creative work, but they must also learn the discipline required to sustain success. Many people under 5 struggle with following through on long-term projects. By setting clear goals and holding themselves accountable, they can balance their need for movement with the discipline required to build something meaningful. The ultimate lesson for those under 5 is that freedom is not the absence of responsibility, but the ability to engage with life fully without feeling bound. When they learn to stay present, commit deeply, and find adventure within structure, they no longer feel the need to run because they have finally found peace within themselves. By integrating movement with mindfulness, they transform restlessness into purposeful exploration, turning every experience into a path of growth rather than just another temporary escape. 6. Love and compassion. The number 6 carries the energy of love, compassion, and selfless service. Those born under this number have an innate ability to nurture, heal, and uplift others. They are the people who naturally take on the role of caregivers, offering their time, energy, and emotional support to those in need. Whether in friendships, family relationships, or professional settings, they are the ones who put others before themselves, ensuring that everyone around them feels cared for. Their presence brings warmth and stability, making them a source of comfort in a chaotic world. However, their greatest strength is also their greatest challenge. They often give so much that they forget to care for themselves. The lesson for those under 6 is that true service cannot come at the cost of self-neglect. Many of them struggle with setting boundaries, feeling guilty when they prioritize their own needs. They believe that love means giving without expecting anything in return. But Buddhist philosophy teaches that real compassion must be balanced, both given and received. If they continue to pour from an empty cup, they will eventually become depleted, leading to exhaustion, resentment, and even loss of self-identity. To serve others fully, they must first learn to nurture themselves with the same kindness they so readily offer to others. The story of the giving tree illustrates this lesson perfectly. In this story, a tree gives everything it has to a boy, its apples, its branches, and eventually its trunk, until nothing remains but a stump. The boy, now an old man, realizes too late that he took without ever giving back. This is the same trap that many people born under 6 fall into. They offer everything, time, energy, love, without considering their own well-being. They give because it feels natural, but over time, if they are not careful, they may find themselves drained and unfulfilled. This dynamic is often seen in relationships. People under 6 are naturally empathetic and emotionally intuitive, which makes them deeply attuned to the needs of others. However, they may attract people who take advantage of their generosity. They may find themselves in one-sided relationships where they give and give but receive little in return. This is not because they are weak, it is because they value love so deeply that they hesitate to ask for it back. Buddhist teachings emphasize the interdependent nature of all things, meaning that love must flow in both directions to be sustainable. Those under 6 must learn to recognize when they are giving too much and when they need to step back. One common struggle for people with this number is the belief that saying no is selfish. They often feel responsible for the happiness of others, stepping in to fix problems, mediate conflicts, or provide endless emotional support. While their intentions are pure, this level of self-sacrifice can lead to burnout. Buddhist philosophy teaches that compassion must begin with the self. Just as a tree cannot continue to give fruit if its roots are not nourished, a person cannot continue to give love if they do not first care for their own well-being. A real-life example of this can be seen in people who work in caregiving professions: nurses, therapists, teachers, social workers, who dedicate their lives to helping others but often experience emotional exhaustion. They give so much of themselves that they forget to set boundaries, leading to stress and fatigue. Many of them struggle with guilt when they take time for themselves, believing that their worth is tied to their ability to care for others. However, Buddhism teaches that self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. If those under 6 wish to continue serving others, they must first ensure that they are mentally, emotionally, and physically replenished. One way to achieve this balance is through mindful boundaries. Those under 6 must learn that saying no is not an act of unkindness, it is an act of wisdom. If they continue to give beyond their capacity, they will eventually have nothing left to offer. A useful practice is the compassion check-in. Before helping someone, they should ask themselves, do I have the emotional and physical energy to give right now? Will this act of kindness bring me joy, or will it drain me? If the answer leans toward exhaustion, it is a sign that they need to step back and focus on self-care. Another challenge for those under 6 is feeling unappreciated. Because they give so effortlessly, they often assume others will naturally reciprocate. However, when their kindness is not acknowledged or returned, they may feel undervalued and unseen. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true generosity comes without expectation, but it also reminds us that healthy relationships require mutual exchange. Those under 6 must learn to recognize when they are giving to people who do not appreciate or respect their efforts. Love should not be a one-way street, and they should surround themselves with those who give as much as they receive. A useful meditation for people under 6 is the loving kindness meditation, metta bhavana. In this practice, they focus on sending love and compassion first to themselves before extending it outward to others. This reinforces the idea that self-love is not selfish, it is the foundation of all other forms of love. By practicing self-compassion regularly, they begin to internalize the truth that they are just as deserving of care as the people they serve. Another essential lesson for those under 6 is learning to trust that others can take care of themselves. Many people with this number have a deep-seated need to fix, rescue, or support everyone around them. While this makes them reliable and nurturing, it can also create codependent relationships where they take on responsibilities that are not truly theirs. Buddhist teachings encourage letting go of attachment to control, reminding us that each person must walk their own path. Instead of constantly stepping in to help, those under 6 should practice trusting that others have their own strength and resilience. A key mindset shift is moving from self-sacrifice to self-empowerment. Many people with this number believe that their value is tied to how much they do for others, but this is a flawed perspective. Love is not measured in how much one gives, it is measured in the quality of connection and presence. Instead of stretching themselves thin, those under 6 should focus on being fully present in their acts of kindness rather than overextending themselves. One practical strategy for balancing giving and receiving is the energy bank exercise. Each day, they should visualize their emotional energy as a bank account. Before giving to others, they must ensure they have enough energy to withdraw from. If their reserves are low, they should focus on replenishing themselves before offering support. This simple mental shift helps them avoid burnout and develop a healthier relationship with their compassion. In relationships, those under 6 should seek partners and friends who respect their kindness rather than take advantage of it. They must be mindful of relationships where they are always the giver and rarely the receiver. Healthy love is reciprocal, and they should feel safe asking for help when they need it. They should also avoid the belief that they must earn love through acts of service. Buddhist teachings remind us that love is not a transaction, it is a natural exchange between souls. One of the most transformative realizations for people under 6 is that compassion is most powerful when it is balanced. Just as the heart pumps blood to sustain itself before distributing it to the rest of the body, love must first be directed inward before it can flow outward. By learning to care for themselves, they actually increase their capacity to care for others in a meaningful way. The final wisdom for those born under 6 is that true love is not about depletion, it is about nourishment. When they embrace the balance between giving and receiving, supporting and being supported, they discover that compassion is not a burden but a source of strength. By learning to set boundaries, practice self-care, and choose relationships that uplift them, they turn their natural empathy into a sustainable, lifelong gift. Through this, they embody the deepest truth of Buddhist wisdom. Love is not just something to give, it is something to be lived, shared, and nurtured, both for others and for oneself. 7. Spirituality and introspection. The number 7 is deeply connected to spirituality, introspection, and the pursuit of inner wisdom. Those born under this number have an innate desire to seek truth, explore the mysteries of existence, and dive into the depths of the mind and soul. They are often drawn to philosophy, religion, metaphysics, or any discipline that requires deep thought and contemplation. Their curiosity is not superficial, they do not settle for surface-level answers but instead search for meaning beyond the obvious, questioning everything in their quest for enlightenment. However, this strong inclination toward solitude and introspection can also lead to isolation. Many people under 7 feel disconnected from the material world, preferring the comfort of their inner thoughts to the complexities of human relationships. The key lesson for those under 7 is learning to integrate their spiritual wisdom into everyday life. It is not enough to seek knowledge in solitude. True wisdom must be lived and shared. Buddhist philosophy teaches that enlightenment is not meant to be locked away in the mind, it must be brought into the world. Those under 7 often feel like outsiders because they perceive things differently than others. They may struggle with small talk, material concerns, or societal expectations, feeling as though they exist on a different frequency. While their introspective nature is a gift, it can become a burden if it creates a barrier between them and the world. The story of the hermit's lesson illustrates this struggle perfectly. A hermit, believing that wisdom could only be attained through solitude, withdrew from society to meditate in the mountains. For years, he lived alone, contemplating existence. He gained incredible insights but remained detached from the world. One day, an old traveler came across his cave and asked, "What have you learned?" The hermit shared his profound realizations, but the traveler simply replied, "If your wisdom cannot help others, then what is its purpose?" The hermit realized that knowledge kept in isolation is incomplete. True understanding comes not just from thinking, but from applying wisdom to life and sharing it with others. This is the core challenge for those born under 7. They are drawn to knowledge, but they must ensure that their quest for wisdom does not separate them from the world. Many people under this number struggle with finding a place in society, feeling disconnected from conventional goals like financial success, social status, or material accumulation. However, Buddhist teachings emphasize that spirituality is not about escaping the world, but about transforming the way we live within it. Those under 7 must learn to bridge the gap between their inner journey and their external reality. One real-life example of this struggle can be seen in spiritual seekers who detach from modern life, believing that enlightenment can only be found through complete withdrawal. While retreating for meditation or study is valuable, true spiritual mastery is demonstrated through engagement with the world. The Buddha himself did not remain in deep meditation forever. After attaining enlightenment, he returned to society to teach, guide, and uplift others. Those under 7 must learn that their insights are most powerful when shared. A common struggle for people with this number is overthinking. Because they are highly analytical and introspective, they may spend excessive time in their own minds, analyzing every thought, emotion, and experience. While self-reflection is essential, too much introspection can lead to paralysis by analysis, a state where they become trapped in thought and fail to take meaningful action. Buddhist philosophy encourages mindful action, teaching that true wisdom comes not just from thinking but from doing. Those under 7 should practice engaging with the present moment rather than being lost in endless contemplation. Another challenge is loneliness. Many people under 7 feel that their depth of thought separates them from others, making it difficult to form close relationships. They may feel misunderstood or disconnected, as if few people truly grasp the way they see the world. However, Buddhist teachings remind us that connection is not about sameness. It is about understanding and acceptance. Instead of seeking people who think exactly like them, those under 7 should cultivate relationships that challenge and expand their perspectives. A balance between solitude and social engagement is essential. A useful exercise for those under 7 is active participation in community. This could mean joining a discussion group, teaching spiritual concepts in a way that is accessible to others, or simply engaging in acts of kindness that bring wisdom into daily interactions. By doing so, they transform their insights into something tangible, rather than keeping them as abstract thoughts. Another powerful practice is walking meditation. Many people under 7 prefer traditional sitting meditation, but incorporating movement into mindfulness helps connect the body with the mind, reinforcing the idea that wisdom is meant to be lived, not just contemplated. Walking meditation allows them to engage with their surroundings while maintaining deep awareness, bridging the gap between inner reflection and external experience. In relationships, those under 7 must learn to communicate their thoughts in a way that fosters connection rather than isolation. Because they tend to think deeply, they sometimes struggle to express their ideas in a way that others can relate to. They may feel frustrated when people do not immediately understand their perspective. However, Buddhist teachings emphasize skillful speech, encouraging us to express truth in a way that is clear, compassionate, and accessible. Those under 7 should practice simplifying their thoughts without losing depth, ensuring that their wisdom is not lost in complexity. Another challenge is balancing skepticism with openness. Many people under 7 are naturally skeptical, questioning everything, including spiritual concepts. While critical thinking is valuable, excessive doubt can lead to intellectual isolation, where they reject everything that does not fit their personal framework. Buddhism teaches the middle way, encouraging both deep inquiry and openness to new experiences. Those under 7 should practice remaining open to perspectives different from their own, understanding that wisdom is not a fixed state, but a continuous journey. One common pitfall for those under 7 is seeking enlightenment as a destination rather than a way of being. Many believe that once they reach a certain level of understanding, they will finally feel at peace. However, Buddhist philosophy reminds us that enlightenment is not a place, it is a practice. Instead of striving for a final answer, those under 7 should focus on living each moment with presence, mindfulness, and awareness. A powerful mantra for those under 7 is, "Wisdom is not separate from life. I am both the seeker and the participant." Repeating this affirmation during meditation can help reinforce the idea that spirituality is not about withdrawal but about integration. Those under 7 should also be mindful of spiritual bypassing, using their quest for wisdom as an escape from real-world challenges. Some people with this number avoid difficult emotions or responsibilities by retreating into intellectual or spiritual study, believing that if they just understand enough, they will be free from suffering. However, Buddhism teaches that growth comes not from avoidance but from direct engagement with life. Those under 7 must ensure that their spirituality does not become an excuse for disengagement. The final wisdom for those born under 7 is that true enlightenment is not found in separation but in connection. Their deep thinking is a gift, but it is meant to be shared, applied, and lived. By integrating their insights into their daily interactions, relationships, and actions, they move beyond mere knowledge and into true understanding. Through this balance of introspection and participation, they discover that wisdom is not just about seeking answers, it is about being fully present in every aspect of life. 8. Abundance and manifestation. The number 8 carries the energy of abundance, success, and manifestation, making those born under it naturally ambitious and driven. These individuals possess a strong desire to achieve, build, and leave a lasting impact. Whether in business, leadership, or creative pursuits, they have an innate understanding of how to turn ideas into reality, often excelling in material success. Unlike those who merely dream of greatness, people under 8 are action takers who believe that effort, strategy, and persistence lead to results. However, their greatest challenge is balancing material ambition with spiritual well-being. Many people with this number focus so intensely on external achievement that they neglect their inner world, forgetting that true success is measured not just by wealth, but by inner peace. The lesson for those under 8 is that material wealth without spiritual fulfillment leads to emptiness. Buddhist philosophy teaches that prosperity itself is not the problem, the attachment to it is. There is nothing wrong with striving for success, but when one's identity becomes tied to external achievements, suffering arises. People with this number must ask themselves, is my success bringing me joy, or is it consuming me? Am I chasing wealth, or am I creating value that benefits both myself and others? The story of the greedy king perfectly illustrates this struggle. A powerful king spent his life accumulating gold, believing that the more he owned, the happier he would be. He built enormous palaces, hoarded treasures, and controlled vast lands, yet he never felt satisfied. No matter how much he acquired, he always wanted more. One day, a humble monk visited the palace and observed the king's restlessness. The monk said, "Riches fade, but kindness remains." The king, puzzled, asked what he meant. The monk explained, "A man's wealth is not in what he keeps, but in what he shares. Gold can be stolen, but a compassionate heart creates a legacy that lasts beyond lifetimes." The king, realizing his mistake, began using his wealth to uplift his people rather than simply hoarding it. It was only then that he found true peace. This story speaks directly to those born under 8. They have the power to create and accumulate, but they must ensure that their success is aligned with higher values. Many people with this number struggle with the belief that achievement equals worth. They push themselves relentlessly, convinced that if they just reach the next milestone, they will finally feel complete. However, Buddhist teachings emphasize that happiness does not come from the next goal, it comes from being present in a journey. The danger for people under 8 is that they may achieve everything they ever wanted, only to realize they still feel unfulfilled. A real-life example of this struggle can be seen in entrepreneurs and high achievers who reach financial success but still feel empty. Many of them spend years chasing status, influence, and wealth, believing that external success will bring them lasting happiness. However, once they attain their goals, they often find themselves asking, "Is this all there is?" This is why Buddhist philosophy encourages a balance between material ambition and spiritual well-being. Those under 8 must pursue success in a way that nourishes both their external and internal lives. One of the greatest dangers for people with this number is attachment to control. Because they are natural leaders and visionaries, they may feel the need to control every aspect of their journey, believing that only through relentless effort can they achieve their goals. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that true power comes not from controlling everything, but from knowing when to let go. Those under 8 must practice trusting the flow of life, understanding that not all success comes from force, some of it comes from alignment with the right opportunities. A helpful practice for those under 8 is mindful goal setting. Instead of setting goals purely based on financial or career achievements, they should ask themselves, does this goal align with my values? Will achieving this bring me joy, or just more stress? Is this success serving not just myself, but others as well? By reflecting on these questions, they ensure that they are not just chasing wealth but building a meaningful legacy. Another common struggle for people under 8 is burnout. Their drive to succeed can sometimes push them to ignore their own well-being, believing that rest is a luxury they cannot afford. However, Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of balance. Just as a tree cannot grow endlessly without nourishment, people under 8 cannot sustain success without caring for their mental, emotional, and physical health. The concept of the middle way, avoiding extremes, applies here. Those under 8 must learn to balance ambition with rest, work with play, and success with inner fulfillment. A practical exercise for achieving this balance is the abundance meditation. This involves sitting quietly and focusing on the feeling of already having enough. Instead of meditating on what they still need to accomplish, they meditate on gratitude for what they already have. This shifts their mindset from scarcity to abundance, reinforcing the idea that they are not defined by their achievements, but by their ability to appreciate the present moment. Another powerful lesson for those under 8 is the difference between wealth and value. Many people measure success by how much money they make or how much recognition they receive. However, Buddhist philosophy teaches that true value is not measured in numbers but in the impact one has on the world. A person can be financially rich but spiritually poor if their success is driven only by self-interest. On the other hand, Someone who shares their wisdom, uplifts others, and acts with integrity creates a legacy that is far more valuable than gold. One of the greatest challenges for those under 8 is learning to detach from the illusion of permanence. Many high achievers believe that once they reach a certain level of success, they will be secure forever. However, Buddhist teachings remind us that everything is impermanent. Wealth can be lost, businesses can fail, and even the strongest reputations can fade. Those under 8 must shift their focus from trying to create unbreakable security to cultivating unshakable inner peace. This means recognizing that success is not just about building wealth but about developing resilience, gratitude, and wisdom. A useful mantra for those under 8 is, "I create success with purpose, and I measure wealth in wisdom." By repeating this affirmation, they reinforce the idea that success is not just about accumulation, it is about meaning. Another essential practice for those under 8 is giving back. Many people with this number are naturally generous but may focus so much on achieving their own success that they forget the power of contribution. Buddhist philosophy teaches that the more you give, the more you receive, not in money, but in fulfillment. Acts of kindness, mentorship, and generosity create a ripple effect that enriches not just the giver but the entire world. Those under 8 must also be aware of ego-driven ambition. There is a fine line between confidence and arrogance, between leadership and dominance. Many high achievers fall into the trap of believing that they alone are responsible for their success, forgetting the contributions of mentors, supporters, and even life's unexpected blessings. Buddhist teachings emphasize humility, reminding us that no one achieves greatness alone. Those under 8 should practice gratitude not just for what they have, but for those who have helped them along the way. The final wisdom for those born under 8 is that true abundance is not just financial, it is spiritual, emotional, and relational. A person can be rich in money but poor in peace, or they can be wealthy in wisdom, love, and purpose. When those under 8 learn to align their success with inner fulfillment, they unlock a level of prosperity that transcends material wealth. By balancing ambition with mindfulness, achievement with gratitude, and power with compassion, they step into a life that is not only successful but also deeply meaningful. 9. Completion and universal wisdom. The number 9 carries the energy of completion, wisdom, and universal responsibility. Those born under this number often feel a deep calling to serve humanity, guide others, and bring a sense of closure to cycles in life. They are the natural teachers, mentors, and visionaries who operate with a sense of higher purpose. Their understanding of life goes beyond personal ambition. They seek to uplift, heal, and bring meaning to the world. People under 9 are drawn to philosophy, humanitarian work, spiritual teachings, and any field that allows them to contribute to something greater than themselves. However, their greatest challenge is learning to set boundaries and trust that they are not solely responsible for fixing the world. The core lesson for those under 9 is learning to share the burden rather than carrying it alone. Their deep sense of duty often leads them to take on the struggles of others, sometimes to the point of emotional exhaustion. While compassion is their strength, overextending themselves can become a weakness. Buddhist philosophy teaches that true wisdom is not about doing everything alone, but about knowing when to step back and allow others to contribute. Those under 9 must understand that they are not the sole source of light in the world. They are part of a collective force working toward healing and enlightenment. The story of the candle and the sun illustrates this wisdom perfectly. A candle, seeing the darkness in the world, wanted to illuminate everything. It burned itself tirelessly, believing that it had to provide light for everyone. But as time passed, the candle grew smaller and weaker until it finally burned out. Meanwhile, the sun continued to shine effortlessly, providing warmth and light without struggle. The candle realized too late that one small flame cannot sustain the world alone. True illumination comes from a source greater than the self. This lesson applies directly to those under 9. They must recognize that their wisdom and compassion are valuable, but they must also allow others to contribute to the world's healing. A common struggle for people with this number is feeling overwhelmed by responsibility. Because they have a heightened awareness of suffering, they often feel a moral obligation to help as many people as possible. This can lead to self-sacrifice, exhaustion, and a sense of personal failure when they cannot fix everything. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of detachment, not from love, but from the illusion that one person alone can save the world. Those under 9 must learn that they are not responsible for solving every problem, only for doing their part with sincerity and wisdom. One real-life example of this struggle can be seen in activists, teachers, and caregivers who dedicate their lives to serving others but often neglect themselves. They may work tirelessly for social causes, give endlessly to their communities, or support friends and family to the point of exhaustion. While their contributions are noble, they must remember that they are human too, and they deserve rest, care, and support just as much as those they help. The Buddhist principle of interdependence, Pratyasamutpita, teaches that everything in the universe is connected. No one carries the weight alone. Those under 9 must trust that others will rise to carry the light as well. Another major challenge for people with this number is learning to release what no longer serves them. Because 9 represents completion, those born under this number often find themselves bringing things to an end, whether it is relationships, projects, or personal cycles of growth. However, they may struggle with letting go, feeling responsible for making sure everything reaches a perfect resolution. Buddhist wisdom teaches that clinging to the past prevents the natural flow of life. Those under 9 must understand that completion does not always mean control. Sometimes, the greatest wisdom is knowing when to step away. A useful meditation for those under 9 is the release meditation. In this practice, they visualize a heavy burden they have been carrying, whether it is an obligation, a relationship, or a personal expectation. As they breathe deeply, they imagine gently placing this burden down, allowing the universe to take it from them. This reinforces the idea that they are not alone in their mission. Others will continue the work they started. Another essential practice for people under 9 is learning to accept help. Because they are so accustomed to being the one others turn to, they may struggle with allowing themselves to be vulnerable. They might feel that asking for support is a sign of weakness, but Buddhist philosophy teaches that humility is a key part of wisdom. True leaders and teachers are not those who pretend to have all the answers but those who recognize their own limitations and seek guidance when needed. Those under 9 should practice receiving love, care, and assistance from others without guilt or resistance. Many people with this number also struggle with perfectionism in their service to others. Because they are driven by a deep desire to make an impact, they may feel that their work is never enough. No matter how much they do, they believe they could do more. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy, burnout, and frustration. Buddhist wisdom teaches that imperfection is natural. No single act of kindness, no single effort will fix everything, but every effort matters. Those under 9 must remind themselves that small actions have ripple effects, and even the smallest act of compassion contributes to the greater whole. A powerful affirmation for those under 9 is, "I share my wisdom, but I do not carry the world alone." By repeating this daily, they reinforce the idea that they are part of something bigger, and they do not have to bear the weight alone. Another crucial lesson for people under this number is learning to find fulfillment in presence rather than outcome. Many people under 9 focus so much on creating change, improving lives, and making a difference that they forget to enjoy the simple moments of existence. Buddhist teachings remind us that wisdom is not just about teaching or guiding, it is also about experiencing life fully. Those under 9 should practice mindfulness in daily activities, taking time to appreciate the beauty of the present moment without constantly thinking about the next goal or mission. One way to integrate this is through gratitude reflection. At the end of each day, they can ask themselves, what did I give today? What did I receive today? What moments of joy did I experience today? This helps shift their focus from constantly striving to recognizing the value of what is already present. Another important realization for those under 9 is that wisdom must evolve. Many people with this number develop a strong attachment to their beliefs and teachings, sometimes feeling that they have already figured out life's deepest truths. However, Buddhist philosophy teaches that true wisdom is never static, it is always growing and expanding. Those under 9 should remain open to new perspectives, continuous learning, and the idea that there is always more to discover. One of the greatest strengths of people with this number is their ability to see the bigger picture. They understand that life is cyclical, that everything has a beginning and an end, and that their role is to help facilitate these transitions. However, they must ensure that their role as a guide does not turn into a burden. By trusting others to contribute, accepting help, and letting go of what no longer serves them, they move into a space of true wisdom, one that is not just intellectual but deeply lived and felt. The final wisdom for those born under 9 is that completion is not about perfection, but about knowing when something has fulfilled its purpose. Their mission in life is not to carry the world alone but to contribute their light in a way that inspires others to shine as well. By balancing service with self-care, wisdom with humility, and leadership with trust, they step into their highest form, not as a lone candle struggling to illuminate everything, but as a sun that radiates effortlessly, knowing that light is infinite and always shared. Now that you've uncovered the deeper meaning behind your birth number, you might be wondering, how can I use this wisdom in my everyday life? Understanding your number's energy is not just about awareness, it's about actively aligning yourself with it to create a life of clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. One of the first steps you can take is self-reflection. Think about how your number's characteristics align with your experiences. Are there recurring patterns in your life that make more sense now? Have you been resisting certain energies that are actually part of your natural path? When you take time to reflect, you gain a new level of self-awareness that allows you to make choices in harmony with your true nature. Another way to apply this knowledge is through meditation and energy alignment. Numbers are not just abstract concepts, they hold vibrational frequencies. You can practice meditation where you visualize the energy of your birth number surrounding you, bringing balance, confidence, and insight into your daily life. This helps you tap into your number's strengths while softening its challenges. It's also essential to make conscious choices based on this wisdom. Now that you know the meaning of your birth number, you can use it as a guide in your relationships, career, and personal growth. Are you embracing the strengths of your number? Are you mindful of its challenges? Aligning your decisions with your number's energy helps you move with a natural flow of life instead of struggling against it. Sharing this knowledge with others can also deepen your understanding and strengthen your connection with this wisdom. When you help friends and family discover their birth numbers, you create a space for meaningful conversations, deeper connections, and collective growth. Learning about others' numbers can also give you insight into how they think and interact with the world, improving your relationships. Buddhist philosophy teaches that nothing in life is random, everything carries meaning, even the numbers that define our birth. When we align with these vibrations, we find greater clarity, fulfillment, and peace in our journey. If you found this wisdom valuable, like this video to set an intention for clarity and spiritual growth. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future insights that can help you navigate life with deeper awareness. Comment below with your birth number and what you've learned from this insight. Your story might inspire others to explore their own spiritual path. Thank you for joining this journey of discovery. Until next time, may your path be filled with wisdom, balance, and light.